Hello and welcome to this section. In this section, we are going to be working on JavaScript loops. So loops can execute a block of code a number of times. So when we talk about the loops, the JavaScript loops are handy if you want to run the same code over and over again, each time with a different value. Now, we're going to be working on 4 types of loops. We're going to be working on for loops, 2, while loop, 3, do while loop, and 4 for each. Now let's start with the for loop. So we have firstly, just the way I've done it, I've been doing it before. Go open a new file, loops.js, then come down to the index file and link the loop.js right here. Alright, so let's go back to our code and start with the process. So we have here JavaScript loops. So here we have for loop. Alright, now what do we use? What do we mean by for loop? For loop, the for loop loops through a block of code a number of times. Alright, just as simple as that. So we have for, so put a parenthesis, we have counter, assign 0 to it, put a semicolon, and we have counter, this is the condition. Now we have counter plus plus, so put a curly brace. Okay, now we have console dot log, we have just put a string there, the counter value is concatenate counter to it, so put a semicolon at the end. Alright, so firstly we have the initialized value. So counter, we assign 0 to that. So sorry, let's put let there, so we need the let. So we have let counter, okay, we have it to 0, we assign 0 to it, so that's the declaring the variable. That's where the whole execution starts from. It starts from counter, it starts from this declared variable, so that's where the execution starts from, that's where the loop starts from. So we have counter less than 5, so this is the condition. So the condition for the execution is the counter must be less than 5. Okay, so then we have the counter plus plus, so this is to increase the value each time the block of code in the loop has been executed. Now let's go down and check the result of this. So you see we have counter value is 0, counter value is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you see the 5 is omitted. It's because of the condition here says counter is less than 5. So if we want to equal the 5, we're going to use an equal to operator. That's the less than equals to operator. So if we reload, you will see that we have the 5 already there. So that's for the loop, that's for the for loop. And you see it's quite simple, it's quite easy, just for you to just put a for keyword here, the initialized value, the counter, the condition, and the increment, or you can use decrement. Alright, let's move on to the while loop. So the while loop, just the way we have it for the for loop, the while loop is not different from this, or just that the keywords are different, but the execution, the way it's been executed, they are also doing the same thing, looping through a block of code. Okay, trying to get the looping through the block of code. Okay, so the while loop we still loop through a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. Okay, all right, so that's still doing the same thing. That's what I was trying to explain. It's still doing the same thing, but the process is kind of different, but the purpose is still the same thing, to loop through to help you to count some values, some values. All right, so now we have let's num assign it to 1. So that's the execution, that's where the execution starts from. So we have while, okay, we have num less than 5, so with the curly brace here. So we have console.log. Alright, so we have the number is, okay, so plus, so we have num. Okay, so don't forget to put the semicolon at the end. Alright, so now you have num plus plus, put a semicolon. Alright, now this is the initialized value, this is the condition, this is the expression, what we are expected to see in our console, and right here is the increment. Okay, that will help us to increase the value. Okay, all right, so another thing you need to know is that this can only be executed, that's this expression can only be executed, the loop can only be executed if this condition is true. Okay, so let's go and check that. All right, so we see the number is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So peradventure we change this and make the condition false, you will see that the loop will not be executed. Okay, so that's it about the while loop. The while loop will only be executed if the condition here is true. Now the condition says num is greater than 5, which you know that this condition is a false condition. So this will never, the loop will never be executed because the condition here is false. So if we put it back to less than and we will load this, you will see that it brings out the expression. So the loop actually takes place because the condition here says it's true. Now let's move on to do while loop. So do while loop. Okay, now do while loop is a variant of the while loop. Okay, so this loop will execute the block of code once before checking if the condition is true. Then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. So what this will help us to do this, okay, let's this will first check to first go in there and execute it once. It will execute the loop once before going to check if the condition is true. Alright, so we have let's put it to 0. Alright, so we have do, so execute console.log. Alright, so we have the loop value is so plus I. Okay, put a semicolon here. Alright, so we have I plus plus, so don't forget to put the increment. Alright, so now we have Y. Okay, so here we have I is less than 10. Okay, so you can still put a semicolon here. So this is where the execution starts from. Let I, we assign 0 to it. Okay, so that's the variable, that's where the execution of the loop starts from. Now we have console.log, we have the loop value is, we have the I here. Okay, now this what happens here. First of all, execute this. Okay, that's the do while loop. You execute this, then it comes to this while, the while here, and check if the condition is true. If the condition is true, then it goes back and executes the remaining code that we have there. So let's see. All right, so we have the loop value is 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So we see it's that it's actually working. But if we come down here the same way we did it in our last one, which is the while loop, if we change the operator here, if we make the condition false, so that's it. That's what I was trying to say. If we make the condition false, you will see that the loop will just execute only one. So reload. Okay, so you see the loop value is 0. So where is the remaining? It will not execute the remaining because it's just coming down here to execute the first one, and it will come and check if the condition is true. If the condition is true, it goes back and execute the remaining operation that we have there. But if the condition is false, it will just execute this. Then it comes to the while loop to check if the condition is true or false. If it's false, it stops the execution there. But if it's true, it goes back and executes the remaining. So let's still make it true. So we have let's put it equal to, so it can bring out 10. So we have that. So you see it's all executed perfectly. So that's it about the while loop. Now let's move on to the for each. Now the for each is we use this to loop through an array. So let's say we have cars as an array. Let's just put some elements inside. So we have Benz, Charlotte Benz, we have Toyota. Okay, we have Mazda, and we have space. Oh, not space. Let's give it a Scarlet. Oh, so much love that car. Oh, oh, nice SUV. All right, now let's move on. We have the for each. So we're gonna use the for each here. It's very simple. Okay, now we're gonna use a callback function here. Okay, all right. So we have console.log. Alright, so inside here we're gonna use let's just use car. Oh, I'm omitting something. Okay, so we are looping through cars, so it's very important that you have that here. Alright, so we come down here and what's this? Okay, car. Alright, put a semicolon at the end. So what we did here is that we first of all declare the variable. So we passed in the values that we want inside this particular array. The elements we have Benz, Toyota, Mazda, Scarlet. Then we use cars dot for each. Then this function is a callback function. Okay, so we have car. So this car will help to bring out the execution of the loop that has been going, that has executed from this cars. So it's coming from this cars. Alright, so cars is where the arrays is coming from. The for each is helping to loop through that array. Now this function is a callback function, and we're passing the car parameter. So this will help the bringing it out on our console. So let's come down here. So we see we have Benz, we have Toyota, and we have Mazda, we have Scarlet. So it has helped us looping through the array that we have here. Alright, so this is all you need to know about the loop. We talked about the for loop, we have while loop, we have the do while loop, and we have the for each loop. So we see that this is actually very easy to understand, and the bottom line here is that is what this loop is actually helping us to achieve. Is helping us to achieve that we execute a block of code a number of times. So that's what this all the loop right here are actually doing. So you just if you want to run the same code over and over and again each time with a different value. So you are just trying to execute the code over and over again, each time with a different value. So that's what every of this loop are actually doing, but the process is different. The for loop is different. The process is different from the while loop. The while loop process is different from the do while loop. The do while loop process is different from the for each. So I'm sure you have a good understanding of what we have actually done here, and I'll see you in our next section.